At dawn, the police move into the city. At April 6th headquarters, because of the previous day's violence, they decide to name this march the Day of Rage. Then the government retaliated. Mobile phones and the internet, the key organizational tools, were taken down.
When Mubarak shut off the internet, it really revealed the desperation on the part of the regime about what was happening and about how effectively the protesters were using the tools of social media.
But even without the internet, the organizers continued to work.
They're not just online activists. They have boots on the ground. They have connections to other, experienced activists.
They'd learned from the Serbian students and the Tunisians. Wearing homemade armor, they are prepared for another day in the streets.
I think it's a nice combination of people who know how to use the internet and are web savvy and also have real experience with street protests and trying to organize them.
جمع الناس في مسيرات سلمية هتتجه لميدان التحرير من كذا منطقة، حوالي 4 مناطق بس من المناطق الشعبية جدا، من الطبقة اللي هي فقيرة جدا من الناس، عشان هي دي الطبقة اللي حاسة بالمشاكل الاقتصادية اللي احنا أصبحنا فيها دلوقتي.
Their non-violent tactics are tested immediately.
Demonstrations and the largest ever seen.
The protests began after midday prayers, which happened on Fridays.
Violent protests have been spreading. That curfew in place, we've seen
Provoked by deliberate violence from the police.
Air is thick with black smoke and tear gas causing a protest movement. They're calling this an open revolt spread on social networking sites like
Cairo is in lockdown.
They are beating people in the streets.
They are prevented by police from getting to Tahrir Square. They are forced up the side roads. The police in hot pursuit. It becomes a standoff. But more protesters arrive. The police can't guard every access route. Then, everything stops for prayers. The police turn their backs, a gesture of respect. But once prayers are over, the pushing and shoving picks back up. And then they break through to Tahrir Square. Cairo seems like a war zone. April 6th headquarters becomes a makeshift clinic.
التحرير مدين للأمن على سخنة جدا. قال لك زادوا عن 20,000 كمان في التحرير.
In the beginning, it is only burned eyes and smoke inhalation.
مش تجمعات، اتنينات كده مع بعض. بس لو احنا رايحين التحرير بقى الناس حضراتكم جهزوا لنا حاجات زي كده. خلي بقى بصوا وشوفوا اللي انتوا عندكم ايه، الدنيا تحت بيطلقوا حاجات غريبة. هم مبهدلين الشباب، هم ضرب مباشر في جسم الشباب.
انتفاضة شعب في السوق ماشي، أطفال صغيرين ما بين 9 لغاية الناس عندهم 50 سنة نازلين يقولوا يسقط النظام يسقط حسن مبارك، بس هي غير منظمة وضاربين عليهم رصاص وبيردوا عليهم.
Soon, it resembles an emergency room. Without mobile phones or the internet, they rely on rumors.
مفيش كنيسة اللي بيقولوا بيحموا الكنايس مفيش كنيسة.
ايوه قاصد ايوه غلط محدش قاصد بس المكان مفتوح محدش داخل
الحزب الوطني
الحزب الوطني
لا الحزب الوطني.
السيدة زينب الاسم مفيش حاجة
الاسم ده مش
اسم البابا يولع.
And his followers, they are being beaten in Giza Square, and some news about 4,000 soldiers from the army are in the streets.
In the square, the crowds are growing and the tension is mounting. Back at the April 6th headquarters, they need to know what's going on. So someone buys a satellite dish and TV. That night, they watch the national headquarters of the ruling party burn. And then a pivotal moment. The army is now on the streets. The police have been completely withdrawn. The protesters are delighted. They're counting on the army to be on their side.
لازم نعمل ايه؟ لازم نبقى مع الجيش. يعني انت عشان لو سبته الشعب مع الجيش خلاص. عشان الناس ما تخافش.
They head out into the night, determined to protect Tahrir Square and the safety of protesters sleeping there. And now they have gained the support of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's been less than a week since the first protests in the square. Despite the violence, hundreds of thousands came as the world watched. The people continued to clamor for change. Ahmed Mar wants to make sure April 6th plays a role in that change. They hold a press conference. A reporter asks how long they intend to keep protesters in the square.
لحد ما يتم تشكيل حكومه انقاذ وطني ملهاش اي علاقه بالسلطه الموجوده دلوقتي. المتظاهرين لو مشوا من ميدان التحرير هيكون مخرج كبير جدا للنظام او لمبارك ان هو يعيد فرض سيطرته تاني.
Mar confirms that there will have to be some sort of alliance with the army.
بعض الضباط جوه الجيش ده الكلام ده كان يوم السبت اللي فات وعرضوا ان هم ممكن يساندونا ولكن القوى السياسيه عملت اتصالات سريعه ببدعي وايمن نور ومعظم الشخصيات السياسيه ولكن فضلوا ان هو يكون الحديث مع القياده المركزيه للجيش مش مع احد الفروع في الجيش يعني.
They watch as President Mubarak finally addresses the nation on state television. He was unwilling to relinquish power. The reaction is to take to the streets.
بان احنا هنفضل في ميدان التحرير لغايه لما يمشي. مش هنمشي مش هنمشي هو هيمشي.
Not long after that, military police raided the April 6th headquarters. Pictures appeared on the internet of the trashed offices. Producer Elizabeth Jones was briefly detained and the 15 activists who were there at the time were arrested and taken away. In the days that followed, we lost track of Ahmed Mar. He and April 6 were in the thick of it with the crowd. After 18 days, President Hosni Mubarak resigned. During the cleanup, we found Ahmed Mar surrounded by reporters.
I mean, what are the achievements and what more needs to be done now?
أهم حاجة إن الشعب صحي، دي أهم نقطة. لو كانت حصل تغيير نخبوي والشعب لسه نايم ما كانش يبقى تغيير، لكن الشعب صحي وعرف حقه وعرف ازاي يطالب بحقه وعرف قوته. الشعب أقوى من الأمن المركزي.
In the days that followed, new protests spread through the Middle East. In Yemen, Bahrain, in Jordan, Iraq, in Iran, and Libya.
Already, the activists in Egypt are reaching out to friends and peers in neighboring countries. The fact that the people have finally put their foot down and said, enough is enough. In Egypt, of all places over there, supposedly stable Egypt. This is a huge message for U.S. policy and for residents of other parts of the region.